For my pick, we're talking to New York Times culture writers. That's Wesley Morris and Jenna Wortham. They kick off the new season of their hit podcast, It's So Good, Still Processing, by confronting perhaps the most charged word in the English language. What do you think that is? It's the N-word. In their new episode, they explore its many faces and talk about an instance where Wortham called Morris the N-word. What?
I remember absorbing it.
You did your Wesley thing when you're uncomfortable, which is you just busted out into a very inexplicable long laugh that had no end for many seconds. You just kept laughing.
Well, for the next 3 or 4 days after that, I was like, Jenna called me the N-word. Jenna called me the N-word, but it made me feel loved, I have to say. It's really
crazy.
Jenna goes, it's crazy. And Wesley, a lot of people go, that's crazy. So Jenna and Wesley, good to see you both. What did you mean, Wesley, when you said you felt loved?
I mean, I understand that it's a term of endearment among black people, and it can be. And, you know, I don't use the word. This is what Jenna and I talk about. But when she said it to me, she didn't say it to judge me. I mean, she did, but not because I'm black. It was because I was doing something ridiculous. And I sat with it, and I understood what it was. And Jenna loves me, and that's what she meant when she said it.
I always feel, guys, this is a tiptoe through the tulips conversation, because I didn't grow up in a house where we could use it or say it, and now it certainly is coming up. But Wesley, you said you make reservations with your soul before you even write about it. Jenna, you said when you were in college, you used it with friends because you thought it was cool and it was nice to be defiant, but now you don't use it. It still seems after all this time, it's complicated for both of you. Jenna, can you respond to that?
Of course. Also, Gayle, thank you so much for having us. We love you so much, and it's always an honor to be here.
We love you, Gayle.
But, you know,
I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, you know, I think when I was younger, I really relished in the ownership of the word, and I didn't always understand the power that I was wielding when I used it. And over the course of my life, right up into that incident with Wesley, you know, I understood that not all black people are the same. Of course, we know that. And I never wanted to harm someone, and I don't want to harm Wesley. I love him so much. And so for me, it was just such an eye-opening moment about the ways in which I had to reconsider my usage of the word, and maybe even, you know, working it out of my vocabulary.
You said, Wesley, that white people have as much stake in this word as black people do.
Yes.
Explain, please.
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, in this day and age, I think everybody hears that word pretty frequently, whether you're using it or whether you're in an environment in which it's in a song. And I think, you know, it's a white word. And I think that, you know, one of the things that we've run up against in the last couple of months is the question of when it is, quote, okay for white people to use it, you know, particularly if they're not using it in a racist way, if they're using it in a quote, if they are, you know, repeating a rap lyric. Whereas, you know, among many black people and many people in general, I think the assumption is you just never say that word if you're not black. And what Jenna and I talk about on the show is that it's more complicated than that.
Yep.
Well, so talk about that, Wesley, because what you hear a lot of white folks say is, well, I see people use it in movies, I hear it in songs, why can't I use this word?
Why would you want to use the word? I guess that's the question.
Right.
Because they're singing the song, Wesley.
Yeah.
They're singing the song.
Well, I think that one of the things that we have to really think about, I mean, one of the things, and that's what Jenna and I are talking about in this episode is, you know, it's settled among black people that it's a word that we use, but I think that you understanding the history of this word and how it came to be acceptable to use in hip-hop, for instance, or among black people, it's been a journey, and it's not just something you can drop into and run. You'll see, Morgan Whalen, when you get caught, out here using that word, what happens? And that, I think, will begin an education for this particular white person.
So then on that question of an education, what do we do when a white person is caught using this word? Every case is different, and Jenna, I'll throw this to you. Every case is different and needs to be treated on a case-by-case basis. However, are there kind of guidelines or things people should look at when deciding what needs to happen after it comes out?
I think accountability and personal responsibility are always good, immediate go-tos. I think people need to not expect to be forgiven, right? In this country, we privilege Black forgiveness over white accountability. And I'm ready for that balance to head more towards white accountability. And I think people need to examine why they feel ownership, why they feel entitlement to use that word. And like Wesley said, why would they want to use it? Knowing its legacy. I mean, that word is tied to Black death. That word is tied to the history of slavery and enslavement of Black people in this country. Like, if you feel that strongly about that word, you have a deep inner journey to go on as a white person. And I deeply recommend that anybody who is listening to this and feels very strongly about the ability to use that word, rewatch Roots and then decide.
You can also use it as a teachable moment for many people, which is exactly what I think is happening to Morgan Wallen at this time, to really take a deep dive into what it means and the pain that it caused. And I do think there's redemption.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so, too.
That's the hope.
Yeah, I believe that could be the case. Jenna and Wesley, it's really good to see you both. Can't wait for the Oscars. There will be much to discuss. We'll talk to you again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that goes, too. Thank you, Gayle.
All right.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
New episodes of, I love the title, Still Processing, are released every Thursday, available at NewYorkTimes.com or wherever you like to get your podcasts.